In the ancient land of Canaan, within the sweeping valleys of Hebron, the patriarch Jacob had finally settled his vast family. He had 12 sons, but the established family dynamic was anything but equal. At 17 years old, Joseph was out feeding the flock alongside his older half-brothers and routinely bringing back reports of their bad behavior to their father. Jacob's bias was visible in every interaction. Joseph was the son of his old age, born to Rachel, the wife Jacob had favored most. This deep-seated affection translated into absolute favoritism within the camp. Jacob chose to make this bias physical. He gifted Joseph a coat of many colors. In a world of utilitarian, dust-covered wool, a vibrant, dyed garment was a staggering luxury, a public declaration of Joseph's elevated status. Survival in the ancient Near East demanded absolute tribal unity. A family fractured by jealousy invited disaster. By physically elevating his youngest son above the older brothers who performed the heavy labor, Jacob placed a target on Joseph's back. The brothers found it impossible to speak peaceably to him. The tension escalated when Joseph began having dreams. He eagerly shared the first one. They were binding sheaves of grain in the field, and his brother's sheaves stood up and bowed down to his. In an agrarian society, whoever controls the grain controls survival. The implication of agricultural dominance enraged them. Then he had another dream. This time the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. The scale of this vision, implying that not only his brothers but his own mother and father would submit to him, crossed a line. Even Jacob stepped in to sharply rebuke the boy. Joseph's tone carried an unsettling conviction, speaking of his future dominion as a settled fact. To the older brothers, Joseph had become a direct threat to the traditional hierarchy. Neutralizing him became a matter of preserving the birthright and their own status within the tribe. This map illustrates the geography of their opening. Jacob sent Joseph from Hebron to check on the flocks in Shechem. A stranger found and redirected him. As the route extends north to Dothan, Joseph walks entirely out of his father's sphere of protection. The brothers spotted him from a distance. They had time to watch him approach and formulate a premeditated conspiracy. They looked at each other and said, "Behold, this dreamer cometh." The brothers moved to seize control of their own story. By plotting to kill the dreamer, they ensured Joseph would be removed from the land of Canaan entirely. The brothers swarmed him immediately, tearing the coat of many colors from his back before he could even speak. Reuben intervened with a half measure to save Joseph's life, convincing them to shed no blood. Instead, they threw him into a dry, empty pit in the harsh wilderness, leaving him trapped in the rock with no water. After throwing their own brother into a hole to die of exposure, they calmly sat down to eat bread while Joseph remained in the dark below. As they ate, a caravan of Ishmaelites and Midianites approached, carrying spices down to Egypt. Judah saw an opportunity for profit. They pulled Joseph out of the earth and sold him for 20 pieces of silver. As the caravan disappeared over the horizon, the brothers believed they had solved their problem. They had merely exported it. Back in Canaan, the brothers slaughtered a goat and soaked the infamous coat in its blood, and presented the ruined garment to their father. Jacob recognized it instantly. The grief broke him. He tore his clothes, strapped sackcloth to his waist, and wept. When his children rose up to comfort him, he refused, declaring he would go down into the grave mourning his boy. The brothers had succeeded in their immediate tactical goal. The rival was gone. But the cost was the total devastation of their patriarch and the permanent fracturing of their family's foundation. While Jacob wept in the dust of Canaan, Joseph moved hundreds of miles south, directly into the monumental scale of Egypt. Joseph's status collapsed from a favored son to a piece of commercial property in Egypt, purchased by Potiphar, the captain of Pharaoh's guard. Beneath the chains and the trauma, Joseph was alive. The Midianite merchants had planted him squarely inside the center of ancient geopolitical power. Malice and betrayal had removed Joseph from his home, but they had not ended his story. Though he arrived in chains, the dreamer was now at the center of the ancient world. For now, the dream survived.